from Hub. And we're also joined by Mr. Greg Ball and Mr. Wretched from the UK. So I hope everyone's
also,
doing well
just as an introduction to Group C was the closest group of all the groups. The difference between the top group and the bottom group was 3 points. All the other teams had a much wider spread. So Group C actually, on paper, was the tightest group. So yeah, that's a good way to introduce it. Yeah,
and each team only won out of the 16 chases. Every team won one match.
Oh, really?
Only one.
Okay,
Yeah.
really, right.
Yeah.
That's mad.
Yeah, we kept it real tight.
Yeah.
No team won 2 matches.
Wow, that's weird. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's
so,
interesting.
yeah, we're going to be reviewing all of Group C matches. So should we get straight into it then?
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
That's cool.
Cool. Okay.
So what's the first one? This is Hub PTC versus APK Blue.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. No crazy.
It was interesting.
Rock paper.
No, I don't think they were too.
shenanigans.
I think they were pretty standard rock paper scissors.
Yeah.
On this one.
Nothing too
Group
exciting.
B
So there
was
was
rock
that one.
paper scissors masters.
Actually, one thing I'm just going to do real quick. I'm just going to cut back to you guys, just 2 seconds, because I realize the audio is going to be bloody loud on the video. So
There was a lot of anticipation, especially when a group begins, because we'd seen now like 2 groups. And people knew, like when they had the first group, some people were familiar with GNF. So when they saw, some of the other groups from that Group A do well, some of the other teams like Hollywood, Five Borough, they were like, wow, this is interesting. But in their mind, they were like, I think like the Europeans are faster or something like that. And it's interesting to address that. Marcus, you can play because
just give me 2 seconds.
like,
I'm just sorting out
there's
this audio real quick.
Yeah.
Just 'cause,
And
I know it's gonna be really.
I think when
talk.
and I think like when people like see the matches, a few people have commented on YouTube that the action is slower with the Americans or fast. There's debate about and until you see,
it's difficult to tell.
Right? So from a personal point of view, looking at with my own eyes, I can say that it's every bit as much competitive. Mm-hmm. I think that things that might affect it are things like the way it's shot, like the
100%.
the high definition of the cameras, or how much it's panned in or not. So if a camera is typically panned in a lot, it looks like people are moving faster and more frantic and this sort of thing. I think all of these things have a factor.
The main difference I saw was like the angle the guys were filming at was like from the shoulder and not from down low. And as soon as because they did it a couple times, as soon as they went down low, everything looked way faster. So it's like just one.
On WCT4, all the camera guys had it under their arm. So when people went over the mountain or over the sisters, you could see how high it was and it had much bigger impact. At the USA ones, they all had it on their shoulder, and you just couldn't get the sort of scale of it properly and stuff. The height of it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to add. I was going to add that the whole angle thing really adds into the speed and the aspect of how fast everybody looks. Because, like you guys said, in the European one, you could see it's a lot of downward angles, and that adds like a lot of intensity into their speed. As we're having it over the shoulder or pointing down on something, it doesn't really show the intensity of their speed.
Yeah. I mean, basically the whole crew, as you know, the referees, everyone, the whole crew, like in the room on the day when we did that event in America, I think only about maybe sort of 6 athletes and about 3 of the crew, me, Christian, and the executive producer, Mike, we were the only ones that had been to a chase tag event before. So apart from that, everyone else is new. And I think we only decided to do the event in America 2 months before. So it was just a mad rush to kind of get everything done with COVID and all this kind of stuff. It was just a real hectic time. So we didn't really have a chance to write all that in. Okay, well, this is how you should, we advise using the cameras or what kind of cameras to use and all that kind of stuff. So, hopefully next time it'll be, we'll have a bit more experience and stuff like that. But yeah, it was pretty crazy, And hopefully next time, because, like in those 2 days, we did more matches than we've ever done from before. So I think, now the American crew and the American teams probably have more experience than the European team, the European crew. So it's, it's a different
Marcus,
situation.
just play the thing and we'll...
Well, give me 2 minutes. Give me 2 minutes. Just keep chatting.
Oh,
We'll be there in a second.
I didn't realize you're still being technical.
As well, like one thing I might as well just cover off now is the just from WCT standpoint, not to throw you under the bus, Greg, but WCT, love the American athletes. You're not reckless. You're precision, highly precise athletes. Everything is good. Don't change. It was Greg's fault.
Discussion about that, Damien. Like, I think fully reckless coming from myself, but we'll see. Depends on what team.
No.
Not all teams are reckless.
Yeah.
But
it was but one thing as well. One thing I will say.
It's what I'd like to call controlled chaos.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I can agree with that.
But one thing that I will say, and they mentioned it in the video, and I kind of stand by this. A lot of teams in Europe, they don't really care if they win or lose. And I don't want to kind of like, again, throw anyone under the bus, but Motus is a good example. I think they wanted to win and they put all their effort in, but they didn't feel like, okay, I don't know if I'm right or wrong in saying that, but they didn't feel like I want to, but I got the impression that all the American teams to a certain extent said, I want to win. And I don't mean that as a curse, I don't mean that in any way I like that. I come from a martial arts background, and I love when people say, no, that's the whole thing about our tagline is that we want to see the best people chase. That's our sort of mission statement. And if people want to win, it means you kind of push yourself a bit more. It means you're more focused. So I love the fact, our goal in sort of 5 years' time is to get like 16 teams to come together, and every team will be gutted if they don't win. That's our goal of where we want it to be. And
I would say that time is a factor. When Motus competed, this was in, early summer 2019.
Yeah, it's a different situation.
And a lot, like World Chase Tag has sort of grown and become, like more people want to win than before. So there are many teams, like right from the beginning, when we did the Star Chase Off, Marrero gang wanted to win.
Some teams you can see their different mentality.
I think Motus, like actually of that event, I think Motus wanted to win more than General as a group, more than some of the other teams.
The reason why I'm saying Motus is because I think they made a video about it, and there was a difference between like Blacklist and Motus. And I think at one point, Giles, in his video, he referenced that Blacklist would take it. That's why I chose Motus, because Blacklist always wanted to win. Yeah. And I think Motus, but Giles, I remember Giles saying something he was referencing.
But Giles has always come to the events, right? Because he was at the Star Chaser.
Yeah.
And he was just like having fun. I don't think Giles cares that much if he wins or not.
Yeah.
But Motus, there were some guys. I remember Luke. Yeah. I remember Luke in particular chasing like
his life depended
to
on
win. And Robbie, right?
It's not they weren't putting any effort in.
But I think it's not like maybe from Giles. We don't care. But Luke wanted to win. Like he wasn't going there to and I just for some reason I remember those two.
Luke chases just with frantic. He just chased like a frantic, and there's a couple lines we always have in our head. Like one of them is we want to see the best athletes chase, and the other one is we want to see people chase like their life depended on it. And Luke chases like his life depends on it. It's cool to see. You know what I mean?
While we're still waiting, are you still being technical, Marcus? Are you ready to go? Okay, so I want to attempt to answer this thing about Americans being reckless, because Greg, I disagree with you. I don't think Americans are reckless. Yeah. Did the Americans do more?
If I may add to all of that, one thing that you guys have mentioned that I've noticed is that Americans are very competitive when it comes to sports. We're very sport-oriented culture. So, when it comes down to things like that, the World Chase Tag, everybody, their mindset was to go out there and win. So, like you guys said, putting, your life on the line, doing those little things just to ensure the tag or ensure your invasion. Those are the things that every American is going to do. It may look reckless because of the fact that, they're really going hard and they're trying as hard as they can and they're just chucking their body in any way. but a lot of it is kind of controlled. You know, for the most part, it's more ukemi, more controlled than it is, you know, just chucking yourself.
There's another element.
So I think the issue is with the word reckless more than anything else. I think that's where and of course we know what they were doing by using that word. It was just to start a debate. But yeah, the word is reckless. And I would say like a dive tag, like a dive tag is not really reckless, unless depending on where you do it. Yeah. And so there are a couple of areas where you have to dive through something, like on the ridge or on the loading bay, where the risk is going to be like your trailing leg is going to hit something like the back of your calf or perhaps your knee going through it.
Yeah,
and something like
I had one of those tags, like I had my heel hit the bar on a dive tag or something. So
and it's not.
I mean, but it was all controlled. Didn't hurt myself at all.
Yeah.
Davis is shouting
And so,
clickbait. It's definitely
so
not clickbait, Davis.
But even when you think about someone like, so to reference, if you look at something like, so, and here's an interesting thought that I had, right? When you look at someone like Andy, right? Is Andy reckless? Yeah, and that's an interesting question because some people would argue that Andy.
Maybe we should save this conversation for another time. This could be a long conversation.
Andy,
talking about his
Andy throws himself around maybe a bit more than the average guy, right? But I would say this about Andy. Andy is a lot tougher than the average guy, right? So if you are tougher than the average guy, right? You throwing yourself around, is that reckless? If you can take it. You know, so this is the interesting question. Like Dom is able to absorb these huge height drops and some of the stuff that he does. That's not reckless because his body can take it. So if Andy can take that,
I think even
that kind of abuse, is that being reckless? You know?
Yes.
So I would argue you have to know what your body is capable of doing.
Your body's adaptations, whatever your capabilities are.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna just crack on with the video so we can get that going. Actually, give me 2 more seconds.
Technical 2 seconds is up.
Almost up. Almost up.
Yeah, with the durability thing, another great example of that, like even Andy is durable, but someone like Loic, who doesn't even do parkour, like from the French team United, he was way more erratic than most people on the court and like bodied himself way more. But he was so strong and so dense as a human that he could just fucking tank anything. You know, like legs going into bars, full pelt, and just keep going like head first off things. That was much more like throwing yourself than we'd seen before as well. And he was just fine with it. So you're durable, it's all good. Yeah.
And Falco, I'm sure we're going to come on to this later, but your tackle, when you tackled Sarin,
that was amazing.
It was a wicked tackle, but also it was it looked aggressive, but it was totally under control. It was quite gentle. Like that could have been really bad. That could have been really bad.
I'm glad that you pointed it out because when the tackle was for Sarin's safety, because the way I seen that he tripped because I dived at him. So to save his life, all I did was just hug him out of the arena. So it looked like a tackle.
Hug him out of the arena. That's brilliant. I like that.
Much love.
If I body slammed someone, I just hugged you out of the arena. Do you know what I mean? What the hell?
I'm just gonna hug you.
No, but I know what you mean. It was a controlled, very controlled thing.
It was quite soft.
A controlled hug.
Controlled.
Out of the arena. That's good.
Yeah.
I even think like people like Andy and stuff like that, like even with their like not reckless, I don't think reckless is like his kind of like intense play style. Like, you know, even if he tackles someone or even if he like tags someone, he'll never ever like do it with the intent to hurt them. Like no one ever would. So even if you tackle someone on the court, you always try and protect them as you go. Or try and do something to make sure you're both safe.
But Andy, he's hurt himself many times.
Just let me know if the audio levels are okay and whatnot. Just let me know.
He's never endangered anyone else, Andy, but himself.
Exactly.
Never at any point has he come close to endangering anyone but himself.
Yeah.
And actually, correct me if I'm wrong, but guys, the only time I remember Andy getting injured on the quad, right, was actually he got injured in Swansea where he cut his cheek, but it was they just patched it up and then he came back on. But the only time I remember him, because you could argue like reckless move is in, and a few people have done it. When you go through the mountain, not going from loading bay to tilted cube, but the other way around. So under the mountain, out towards the loading bay. The gap between the ramp and the loading bay is very thin. So when you're doing a dive roll, you can't, the safest way is to just go straight on your spine, but that might hurt. If you dive roll, on that position that slightly to the side, it means the gap is kind of small. So it's kind of a tough move to do. And Andy did it. And he got an evasion against, I think, David Nell.
Yeah, David Nell.
And then the very next chase, wasn't this in the final at WCT3?
Yeah.
And Greg, you then chased Andy afterwards. And Andy came same position. And kind of at the same time, he maybe could have got the evasion, but he chose not to be reckless. And he tried to sort of slow down and sort of ended up hitting his knee on that thing.
Yeah.
And that was the only time I can recall. Well, apart from when he got winded, but he was fine. Like 2 minutes later, that he was sort of limping around, and so it's just an interesting thing that by not being reckless,
but that's not reckless. He was pretty controlled when he did that dive roll.
But it's what people would call like a reckless move, whereas trying to go through it the other way is less reckless, and he hurt himself.
The only things that I would necessarily call like super reckless on the court is again when you like go for other people in like stupid ways. Like most of the people who like do stuff with their own body and like body into something or like roll or do anything like that, I feel like there's always an element of control because they know what their body can do. But like there have been teams that have like swiped people's feet out and like do
that's bad.
When people are trying to stride, they aim for feet. I would think that's what I would call reckless, not endangering your own body almost. Because I feel like if it's yourself, it doesn't really matter. But when you try and like tag someone else in a stupid way, that's much more reckless because you're endangering them, not yourself. Like you kind of know what you can handle. So that's when the only word I'd use for reckless really is that sort of stuff. Not like dive rolls. I don't know. It's a tricky word.
Like Loic tapping Haroon's legs
at
WCT4
and stuff like that, and like tagging people in the face.
And, Andy just said you can't hesitate when you go through that.
Through the dive roll. Hell yeah.
And someone said have WCT for kids. Yeah, we would love to do something for WCT kids. I end up saying this quite often, but I'll say it again. Is like eventually the problem is when you start something from scratch, we like chase tag. We don't have chase tag in schools, or we don't officially have it in that many gyms and that sort of thing. So eventually we want to like have a license that gyms can use chase tag, and we can have it in more places, not just in like all over the world effectively. And then that's how we will start like a kids program and developing it in a safe environment. Myself and Damien we don't have any parkour coaching qualifications or anything like that. So it's really important that we work with gyms so that they can establish chase tag in a safe environment, and that people use obstacles and how you manipulate and get around obstacles in a safe way. This is the most important thing. For whoever asked the question about the kids, I think it's gone up in the feed. I can't see the question.
Guys in chat, if you guys got any questions for the athletes in particular, so we've got Dominic Chavez, Falco, and Tarzan from Empire. If you guys got any questions, put it in the chat. Just put their name first and then put your question. So for Dominic, what was it like coming into this match, coming up against APK Blue then? Was it stressful or?
It was the first match, so it was obviously like just like getting out there trying to get the jitters out. So it's like it was stressful at the beginning, but like after like a couple chases, kind of relaxed a little bit. But yeah.
How was the noise? Because you guys obviously didn't have a crowd, right? So how was it like the atmosphere in the actual game itself? Because when we've done it in the UK, it's all been like, hundreds of people like yelling and stuff. So was it better for you guys because you still have loads of noise? I feel like that can help and kind of like,
considering that there was a lot of people, a lot of athletes, loud athletes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a decent atmosphere.
Someone's saying in chat, so Joshua is saying, question, what's it like competing against Saren? He seems terrifying.
Yeah, like, especially because you can't even, like, you're not really bolting or anything.
Yeah. What's it like for you guys?
Dominic, you had a couple of chases, Saren,
I never went up against
in this
Saren.
match, didn't you?
No, I
Didn't
went up
you?
against
I don't
JB.
I thought you
think I
did.
did either.
Okay.
Wait, did no one in this call go up against...
No, Falco went up against Saren,
Okay.
Yeah.
as we know.
Falco did,
Oh,
yeah.
he did, yes.
But he was chasing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he a scary guy on the quad? 'Cause I've never met him. So.
He's very, very aggressive, I would say. You know, it's very gung-ho on what he's doing and just wants to get it done. You know? So I would say he's one of those people that are, ready to go and is puts his life on the limit. You know, he'll put the limits on.
Risk it for the biscuit.
Incredibly
Yeah.
for an athlete. Like, he doesn't
Yeah,
have,
he'll
like,
push those. He'll push that bracket.
You know, he just like
Also, as I
is so
know, he's the first one that actually made me run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting with Saren because his best match was at the start, and I think he never really went up over the mountain. He didn't do a lot of the stuff. So I think people realized after a while, a lot of people thought when they were being chased by him, I think a lot of people changed their tactics when they sort of got to know his style a bit better.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be like that sort of style is like a little bit easier to herd. And I feel like people haven't got like such versatility in their movement. You can like herd them a little bit easier because you kind of predict where they're going to go. Because obviously if they're going to stay low down, you know like, how to kind of change levels. I don't know, but if you're going up against someone who doesn't go like parkour and it's not going to go up high, it becomes easier to predict like okay, I can go up high and force them. I think that's what a lot of
This
Yeah.
this next chase is interesting. I think is it this one? Yeah, my notes. Because when we design the quad, we try and design it to get a range of movements, and this is a great example this chase of how two people can use the same space and have a completely different approach. I really like watching this chase in
I mean, even
particular.
just them, we're diving through.
Like, to be honest, I love watching like both of them. But there's something about Eric's movement that I really like watching anyway. But but I love when the athletes do interact with the quad in different ways. And that was a great example.
I think this chase is the one where
Yeah,
Sparta
the way he just came out of
looked
that
back
slide was
mid-stride on the
amazing.
system.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
American
yeah.
guys, you guys seem to just dive through the ridge like it was nothing. Like, there's a few of you guys that could just get through it effortlessly.
He floor konged through the lower part of the ridge, which is an incredible move.
Yeah.
I really like that move.
I think we were speaking about this today, but is the ridge sizing slightly different over there? Because when we were looking at that today, like for me that looks ridiculous to even try and dive come through that. Like, I'm way too big. To
Yeah.
get through that gap.
Yeah, and there was
Marcus,
some, yeah.
your mic is very crackly. Is it no? But I saw someone saying that they can't hear mic. They can't
Okay,
hear
yeah,
mic.
I'll fix it.
A lot of people as well. Dom, how tall is Sparsha?
He's a little bit taller than me. I think he's probably like 5'10", 5'11".
Okay, I remember him being really tall, like 6'1" or 6'2" or something.
Yeah, because you were saying to me he's like 6 foot, and that just seemed really weird from seeing him on video.
Yeah, I seem to remember
I
being
think
really
he's like
tall.
just about 6 foot.
Okay, yeah. Because a lot of people are saying, oh, he doesn't look that fast or agile. But I was saying that he's actually a big guy. From my memory, he was tall. You know. So for someone that high,
he's pretty
very
quick.
agile. Yeah.
We talked about it. Like he's really good at like directing things, so he can like stop and then like very quickly move the opposite direction,
Yeah.
like full speed.
That was
That was a
awesome.
really good chase.
Yeah,
That good evasion.
Yeah.
Your evasion.
I think I lucked out because there was like 2 spots where he was slipping, and I think if he wasn't slipping, he would have tagged me.
And it was so close. He was right there. He could have got the tag like literally on like 21 seconds or something.
Yeah.
Just want to say thanks for all the guys joining just now. We're going through all of Group C matches. If you've got any questions for any of the athletes, just pop a comment saying the name and then they can answer it for you. This is your question now.
I feel like that little corner right there is so deadly. Like, I got caught there twice, and I've watched a lot of people get caught in that one little corner in the front ridge.
Oh yeah, we were just training today on the quad, and the UK guys have now got some very good tactics for that corner. I'm just saying.
Why are you baiting us out, man?
It's
All right.
You mean the front left-hand
I know what I gotta work on then.
yeah, the lazy boy. It's a really hard obstacle though to actually like evade from. If you stop there, it's really hard to get out of it.
Yeah.
Well, actually, to train that corner in the garden is not so good because it's unclear how far back you can stand. Because basically in the garden we don't have a border, and so you're not sure exactly how far back. And that corner is all about how far back you can go. You know.
Yeah, Dylan is just absolutely flying around the quad right now.
Oh,
That dive.
Wow. That dive right there.
What was that? 18 seconds.
Yeah, that was
18, I think 9.
Yeah, you can see the look on his face when after he got the tag.
This is one of the problems that I was saying.
How
when we
aware are you as an evader? This is to the athletes here. Of the time, like you must know. Oh shit! It's coming! It's coming! It's coming! Both as a chaser and an evader.
You can feel it.
I feel like now that I've been training more, I have more of awareness of when the 20 seconds is up. I don't really time it in my head. But yeah, on the quad, I had no idea. I just kept trying to move and you know, make the tag or make the evasion as best as I could.
Yes, man.
Someone's saying in
Would it help?
Nice Kid, he's saying, question, is there a move that looks easy on camera but is actually really hard to perform for the athletes?
Anything to a rail on that court.
Yeah, Rich is saying anything to a rail.
I'll say any jumps to the rails or actually, you know, if you're a bigger person like myself, just getting under those smaller obstacles is a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's like, it depends on your size, because if you're really big, then getting under stuff's really hard. If you're really small, then getting under it's really easy. So it really depends on like your height.
But like while he's here, like Richard, right? We were talking about it today. Richard once conged through the mountain.
Oh, that was
so that gap that normally, and I don't know how, because I saw like Arthur Frank tried to do it from Fat when he was in Breach, and he came up and you hit your back on the top of it, and it looked really painful.
I'm bigger than Arthur as well, and I somehow got through that without hitting anything. I still don't know how I managed that.
My sister's got a picture, that she actually like a proper still of you at that exact moment, and literally just touching. Everything is touching. You just think, nah, he must have hit. You know, if you look at the photo, you think, that definitely hit.
I don't know how I did that. So dumb.
All right, let's get back to the matches then. Go in.
So Lucas asked, "Is this the same court or the quad?" And it's the same design that we use in the UK, but we made it at Mark Turock's place, American Parkour. He makes parkour obstacles that he supplies around the US, and he made this quad for us, and so it's the same design, but what we didn't do, a lot of the individual obstacles, generally the sizes, we all have an exact measurement, but there's some parts of the obstacles, like in the ridge, the placement of the bars, this is kind of done by feel a little bit, and this is something that we need to change to get exact measurements going forward for the future. Same with the mountain. There's a place on the mountain, so like we know from when we're just adjusting it that, oh, this bar needs to go up or down a little bit, you know. But yeah, to answer the question, it's same design and more or less identical.
I just wanted to stop it there, so I was just going to ask, for the APK, sorry, for the hub guys, Sorry, Damien, I think I'm getting an echo on your. Yeah, your camera.
Yeah.
Would you mind just turning down the volume? Yeah, your camera. Would you mind just turning down the volume? That's weird. So yeah, so for the hub guys, you're in sudden death now. What's it like? Because this is your first match you're playing.
Yeah, it came up like a lot faster than we expected. Remember, we were like turned around and we're like, oh, we're at sudden death right now. Like,
Jesus.
and then we were just kind of like, we're just gonna throw whoever feels good, and then see how it goes.
Did someone
chases go by so quick, you don't even
or did you
realize.
say? Did someone say no? You should go.
I think in that moment, I don't remember who was up first. I think we kind of like talked back and forth between all of us, and it was just kind of like, the main thing that we kept saying was like, do you feel good? You feel ready? And then if the person felt good, then they would go.
Damien, sorry, could I just
This is a weird
turn
one,
down
though.
your volume because we're getting a massive echo.
Turn it down.
Yeah, on your computer.
Okay.
Yeah. Going back to that point there, this is why I think it's so important to have a manager of your team, or like at least one of your players making those authoritative decisions, because you can be chatting to each other going like, oh, who feels good, what are you doing, like, but then that could get lost in communication. You might not send the right person out for who they're pairing as well. So I think that's why it's quite essential to have someone like, look at some of the teams that competed there, like Apex for example, they had a set manager, and like I think that's a very important thing when it comes to these sudden death matches, to sending out the right person to get the point at the end of the day.
Yeah, and you guys will see Apex coming up in the next group. In group C. And sorry, Damien, I'm still getting a
Just
little
to
bit.
confirm though, they didn't have a manager, but
Sorry,
Amos
Damien,
didn't do any chases.
Damien, sorry, would you mind just either turning it down or just popping in a headphone or something, just because it's like crazy echo? People noticing it in chat. And someone
It's very
saying
quiet.
to August is saying, when we get in women, we're getting there's a lady in Group D called Ashley Johnson for APK Grey. She's coming out real soon, and she does quite well.
Yeah.
But like Dom, what was the mood in Hub? Because you must have thought, yeah, it's in the bag. You know?
Yeah,
It's
for sure.
totally
We were
in the
like,
bag.
oh yeah.
And then he comes and pulls this evasion out, you know.
Yeah, so at this moment, I really wanted to go against Eric, but they threw in Jeremiah.
Yeah, Eric
Yeah, that
really
would be,
came in clutch
you
right
and Eric
there.
would be a really interesting chase.
Yeah, I wanted to go, like, I was like, oh man, I would really love to go against Eric, but...
And this
Just didn't
is the
happen.
first time, for anybody in chat, this is literally the first time we've ever had a double sudden death in history. And this is your guys' first match, which is crazy.
So like even at the start,
It was pretty
so
intense.
close, like straight away.
Two just ginormous guys going up against each other right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing I noticed
Yeah, it was
before, like you guys were talking about how Saren didn't go up on the mountain or anything. I noticed before Jeremiah was up on the mountain and he chose not to even go up. He chose to stay underneath, and it slowed him down a little bit too.
Yeah. I think people worked it out after a while. Like I think this is his best match. And then after a while, I think his evasions per match definitely went down at that point.
Yeah. Another thing is like the mentality of it is, I notice a lot of people is like, if they're chasing, once the evader is kind of a good distance away from them, it's like one of two things either happen. It's either they give up and they're not chasing as hard anymore, or they go too hard and then they start stumbling and falling all over.
Yeah.
Mm.
Udit, I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher his name. Udit Sahai is saying, I swear Saren's acceleration is like a Tesla. That guy he is rapid.
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, what's interesting, this has come up before, and what I find is interesting about chase tag as opposed to other sports. Generally, in sport, if you've got power, power generally equates to like more mass, and more bulk. And in most sports, that's not a bad thing. If you're doing, like, say, track and field, you just need the power. And then if you're doing 100 meters, as soon as you pass the finish line, there's no requirement for you to just stop. And then other sports like rugby or American football, if you need speed and power, and then if you've got extra mass, that gives you momentum, which in those sports is generally considered a good thing. In chase tag, it's an interesting dynamic because yes, you want more power, right? But the bigger mass also it makes you harder to stop or to turn, or it slightly can detract from agility. So this is an interesting, from chase tag, it's an interesting question. Like, at what point do you want to increase power, but at the expense of agility, or that extra mass that you need to sort of stop on a dime?
Yo, good evasion.
And no one body type has dominated so far. There hasn't been one body type you can say, oh, okay, yeah, this is, big, strong people, or okay, this is only for light people, or anything. There hasn't been look at the difference between Haroon and Loic, or whatever, There's a big difference in body type. So just going to the chase, I really like Falco. Like, one thing I found from your movement and that chase in particular is just your unpredictability. Yeah.
I think that comes from.
Yeah. So now we've got Empire guys. So what are you guys feeling going into this match? Tarzan, you're actually just up right now. Is this your first chase? This must have been.
Yeah, so this was my first chase. I came in there really actually in a confident mindset, ready to go. And then there was a point in time where you could see I stopped going up high, which is where I'm actually comfortable being. And I start following him, and that's where I lost it. And then that mentality of what I told you, you have to kind of give up or you really go hard. And my mentality was kind of like I gave up at that point. I was like, I'm never going to catch him. So that's kind of what happened in that moment.
Because you saw that speed step through the mountain and you were like, oh.
Oh, yeah. That speed step.
Yeah, he went through that mountain and I was like, I can't fit through any of these things like that.
Yeah, we were literally, when we were practicing today on the quad, we were drilling this, like this speed step, because it's actually really hard to do. There's not much room.
Yeah.
When we were practicing, I was doing the speed step through the mountain. I actually did it in there, but it was way slower than his,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah, this is
yeah, Falco, this is your first match, and we kind of saw that you had a really different style here, because you kind of came in quite slow. We'll see that coming up in a second. But what was the strategy like behind that?
What was that? I couldn't hear you.
Sorry for the echo. You were coming in when you came in for your match. You had a really different style of like coming in quite slow. So I was just wondering, why did you choose to come in quite slow compared to what most people do, which is when they like to sprint straight in?
I don't have much to say about it, but it was just I had felt that I was gonna bring a new element to World Chase, man. And I was like, out of nowhere, I see that how everyone runs off and everything. Like, it's just simple. It's just I knew where I wanted him to go. So that's why I intimidated him by walking.
So Amos from Apex has a question for you, Falco. He says, I want to know more about your chase style. You chase as if you know you already have the tag and then just calmly and patiently wait for the moment to get it.
What was the question again?
It's more, I guess it's not really a question, Amos. What is that? It's more of a statement. It's just saying that you have a very, like I was saying, you kind of go in like you have the tag already. And then you just sort of waltz in, and somehow it's really like you would think going in slow is not good, but it seems to work really well, and you always get the tag.
Yeah, the walking in part. I can do that a lot more too as well. But it was the person I was going up to, and I knew off the back that I was going to tag him. So I just wanted to put on just who I am as a person.
When we first started, and like the very first project from the start, and that was the whole strat. Sorry, Jay. Like slow it down. time to wait. And if you like crush to like hunting in the wild.
He might just get away with he just dives with his face seemingly onto the prostrate Team Empire Invader. And
That was a question for me. I couldn't hear it.
late on in the 20.
I had so much hope for Steve.
Yeah, it's very echoey.
Open Duke on the front line where he found himself tripping up, sliding under the front line, turned around to see someone bearing down on him, but unfortunately made a small mistake later on which cost him the point.
Chase 9, no cap evading. 3-1, no cap. Athletes, ready!
Christopher Glover, Falco just sidling up.
Look at that walk.
A bit of confidence, maybe a bit of arrogance. Is it going to pay off? The youngster, Franco, makes a move around the front line.
Again.
Yeah, 'cause I had the opposite. Like I was like, I'm just gonna go fast right out of the gate,
Slow and steady, using
just to
the
get
mind games
to them as quick as possible.
Chase 10, Team Empire evading. 3-1, no cap. Athletes, ready!
Caden Harbo, man in the blue shorts, hopping up onto the bar around the loading bay, but Falco goes under the ridge and then back underneath it, goes cross court, and it is all kind of slow and chilled out from Falco. He really needed to find a bit of a burst of speed somewhere.
Chase 11, no cap evading. 3-1,
Spectacle. It's
no
much
cap.
nicer to see like the technical aspect of you herding him into a specific area.
And here comes Reap, and Reap launches himself into that.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's kind of my idea of it too. Just getting them to go where you want them to go, and then you can see that you're literally just cutting them off,
Yeah.
stopping them where you want them to be.
Empire evading.
Someone just said that they want Falco on Team Hub.
Oh, it's Joey Adrian. I love watching this guy jump around. He's so energetic.
Looks to descend on Reap and manages to make
Yeah, Joey always seems to crash, but he is so fast around the quad though.
I think there should be a rule that he always has to side flip into the quad.
100%.
I was gonna say if you're gonna showmanship like that, now you gotta always do it.
Yeah, exactly.
We nicknamed him the Energizer Bunny when he was in the UK because he just had so much fucking spring.
Yeah.
I love that.
Is there any other questions? As far as,
Yeah,
like,
guys in chat, if
so-
you've got any questions for the athletes, just pop their name in and then put your question afterwards.
I gotta get ready to get out of here.
Chase 14, Team Empire evading.
Yeah, so Joe Light saying Falco has such good awareness.
Athletes, ready!
See, people like you, Falco.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
He nearly falls straight away, but he finds himself in the loading bay and flushes him out for
There's that deathly corner.
Yeah, it's that corner every time, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, Tarzan, how did you feel like then? Because obviously you're 3-1 down and you've kind of gone out and you're trying to like clutch it. How do you feel like in that moment trying to like actually get those 2 points? Because you know you have to get 2 in a row. So there's like a lot of pressure, or because you seem really calm when you're there. So I wonder, like, do you feel a lot of pressure?
I was actually very calm. I never actually had a lot of like nerves or anything like that. I would say maybe with the first like chase after, chasing Jared, I kind of had a little bit of nerves.
Yeah.
But at that point, I didn't even know the score, honestly. I didn't know that we were down to that last chase. I just heard match point, and I was like, oh, well, here we are. And yeah, so I just did my best to try to make it happen.
APK Blue.
Oh, that's nice.
At one corner, I stopped and I stopped moving. It got me.
Yeah.
That's the difficulty with that corner though. As we were saying, we were training it today, and you just have to react. Like you can't really stall there, unless like you've got a nice Benny heel going. But if they pressure you from the top and you wait for too long, like they're gonna jump down and pounce on you, and you're gonna be out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, if I kept moving from there, I think I would have maybe got one more point and just kept running, and I would have been fine, but it was alright. It was our first match, and we all literally just all learned.
They can see his line now.
I think you download so much like experience just from being on the court like once or twice. Like
Unless
as
it's
soon as you've been on
yeah.
there a few times, you just get so much XP straight away because it's so much different from any other parkour movement you do, and then you feel so much more comfortable.
Yeah, because I was gonna say when I was chasing Jared, I felt my movement changed between him and Joey. And I was chasing Jared, like I said, I was on top on everything, and then I went down and I started following him. Trailed me away from him. As where when I chased Joey, I made sure I stayed on top, and I was tracking to where I wanted to be, and then I came in as fast as I could.
Yeah, you can definitely see that. Sure.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I've got another question for Falco. Everyone's asking Falco questions. Evercrest says, Falco, what's training like for a sport like this on your daily life? Does it come naturally, or did you fall into a regiment that got you results in the chases?
It comes naturally.
Okay. Straight up, just natural.
Yeah. Cause I like I said, I've been playing football since I was 3. So I'm gonna throw that out there. I also do martial arts and I do regular stunts and I'm a performer. So when parkour came into my life, it was just like taking everything that I have done and mixing it into parkour, and that's where it came from. So
Yeah,
like just being on the quad was just natural to me because I love compact areas.
Yeah, exactly. Richard was just pointing out, this is the difference between Saren and Joey.
Size difference.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And the amount of just speed these guys have around here. Boom.
And it goes to show that your size or your power doesn't really matter. It's your technique in this whole thing. It can go one of which ways with it.
Yeah, whenever someone brings up like speed or power or anything like that, I always bring up like Sebastian Fugan, who's like a much older guy and is still so sick on the quad, and because he just understands the technique and like where to position himself so well, and his cardio is just through the roof, so he just knows how to pace it, just keep going. You don't need a lot of power to necessarily be really good at this.
I think a crucial thing as well is understanding the body language, right? And for those athletes, like Falco, if you've done a sport where you're looking for the juke and you're reading body language to see which direction people are when they perform, I think this is an important factor. And that is something, for whatever reason, Sebastian Foucault is really good at timing.
I'm just gonna see if I can rewind that, because that is savage. His reaction is great. I mean, look at that frame. Let's see if I get the frame. There it is. That's the frame right there.
Yo, the face.
Especially when he goes green like that, he looks like a psycho.
Let me see if we can pull this back again. That was so nice as well. And then there's just straight after. This chase is mental.
Yeah, 2 chases in a row were just crazy, those 2.
Yeah. And then just comes back, doesn't see it. Boom.
Get straight back up as well. Keep going.
I think that is a really important thing, though, is that he just got straight back up, and that's what got him. And the thing is, he looks for cover straight away. I think that's really
that's what I was
important.
going to say. He didn't just get back up. He knows where to go and stuff.
I actually talked to Joey about that afterwards, and he said that didn't hurt him at all in any way, shape, or form. That he literally saw it at the last second, and he put his hands there, and that's what kind of gave him that bounce back to the floor.
He also does something really cool when he slides underneath. He slides on his knees and spins, so you can see where the chaser is. It's really cool. Yeah.
That was just nuts to watch.
And that's just instinct. From the time he hit the bar, that's just total instinct. He's not calculating stuff or anything, Yeah.
When I was,
and you could tell a lot of these things. You could tell of when it's just like they didn't mean to do it. Like that jump right there to that bar. Joey didn't mean to do that, but you saw how fast he goes under. To try to save himself out of it.
Yeah.
When I was sorting out this thing with the headphones, because we couldn't hear the sound, I'd got some notes. And earlier in this match, and I got a sort of thing that we wanted to discuss, and it's about Saren. A few people on YouTube are saying that, Saren, he ignores people, he's not as huggy as some of the other athletes. And Saren, we spoke to him, apologized and just said that he had our support, because I know, talk to Saren, he's a really super nice guy, and he doesn't. The fact that he might not acknowledge somebody, it doesn't in any way, shape, or form like say that that's how he feels towards that guy. And he sent Damien a link of 2 CrossFit athletes just before, and they're so focused on what they're doing, they're completely ignoring the instructions that this other guy is giving. It's quite an interesting thing for mentality. You know, Saren comes from a background that's highly competitive, and you need to, in your mind, the way your mind works, it's got nothing to do with nice or not nice, absolutely zero to do with that. It's all about how do you as an athlete get focused on what you need to do, right? And for Saren, that might be a particular thing. And so I'm just saying, in his defense, don't interpret his body language or anything like that as being like that he's disrespectful.
Wow, that dive through those
that dive is crazy.
I was gonna say that dive is ridiculous. Someone
that's a tight squeeze.
Yeah, someone in the comments was saying, "Oh, everyone should do that." I just want to point out that gap is absolutely tiny. I don't know if I can zoom in on it, but like,
if I were to reference in size, I would say it's maybe a foot wide, not even.
I can't show
It's
it.
about as big as my head.
Yeah,
That big.
it's tiny.
Yeah.
I think there's another angle that they showed.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull it back
I quickly
again.
just wanted to add something to the kind of thing we're talking about with Saren there, where it's talking about like how he respects people and stuff like that. Like another thing with the UK is like a lot of people, I don't know about America, but a lot of people are friends. So when you see someone bail and get hurt, you kind of like care for what's going on. You know what I mean? So like I think that's a bit of almost like a weakness in World Chase Tag because it's competitive. It's like if my friend falls over, I want to make sure he's alright. But you're in a competition and you're against each other and you're trying to win, but you also want to make sure that they're okay. So like in a way, Saren's got a good mentality for winning that because he's so competitive. It's like just zoned in on it, so he doesn't care about that sort of stuff, which is good, I think.
I can honestly say that here in America, the parkour community is very, very supportive of one another. Every competition, every event that I've been to, I've never got anything but love and respect from, everybody else. I don't think Saren actually has a parkour background. I've never seen him at any events or anything like that. So I feel like that aspect and that mentality is not really quite there. So, it's the whole competitive mindset was just in his brain, and he just, like you said, didn't realize when he was just not being, there was no sportsmanship. I don't think he realized it. I think he was just going with the flow and just trying to keep it moving, and really staying focused on what he was doing.
Also,
he doesn't know the people, so it's your reaction to them is a little bit different if you know them than if you don't personally.
I just wanted to point out, Joey seems to have hit his head here, but I can never work out.
Yeah, Jarrod.
Yeah,
but
Jarrod,
also he does a really cool move here. He does like a duck through the tilted cube and then comes back out again. As I saw that, I was like, what the hell? It's a really cool. Yeah, I couldn't work out when he hit his head.
Yeah.
Either.
This is here.
It's really weird. Can you watch that whole chase again?
Yeah. I'll pull it back to the whole chase then.
Because I couldn't work it out. Unless it's there, but he doesn't seem to hit his head.
No, yeah, it really confused me when I was editing this. I was like, wait, there's no point where he seems to hit his head.
That's delayed.
But this is crazy.
I think when he went under that wall right there.
Oh yeah. When he's going by the mountain, I think.
Yeah, when he went by the mountain under the wall, I think that's where he clipped it.
Oh, okay.
Nice kid. 76.
But this repair is so cool.
Yeah, I know.
It could have also been right there. When he was coming back in.
That could have been
it. Could have hit his head, I think.
Yeah, Nice Kid 76 has a question. He says, for the creators, what counts as out of bounds? Should be a nice, easy question.
If your foot touches the floor outside the border.
Yeah.
So the border is fine. If anything comes off and goes out on the floor outside the border, anything not touching the quad, not part of the quad, that's out of bounds.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah. Didn't happen at all in WCT USA. I don't think.
There was a point where...
That's another thing with Jared. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I watched a lot of his runs, and he has so many different directions that he moves in. It's no this way and then turn. It's a lot of straight. Now I'm going this way. Now I'm going that way. So a lot of the chasing,
unusual routes.
Him, never know where he's going.
This is a perfect example of using Saren's skill against him. So he's not really good at his parkour fundamentals, and you can see that Jared just walked all over the floor with him over there. So he's definitely more switched on to the tactically using your opponent's weaknesses against them.
Hmm.
And this chase is a little bit of a shame because he just seemed to be like his tank was just empty. He'd done 2 in a row and then was just like I can't.
And
do
I
a
don't
third.
think he's thinking right. That was just a bad choice.
Exactly.
I was gonna say it was a bad decision, and I also do agree with his stamina. I don't think Jared's stamina was up there because after the second chase, you can always see it every single time. The first evasion, he gets it, and the second one, you can tell that he's tired. He's getting exhausted real quick.
And I think
my notes talk about this next chase, from Jesse. Right, watch the end of this chase because this is match point. Yeah. Jesse needs to make this tag, right?
Oh yeah, this is good.
And this is incredible. Yeah. It's 10 seconds now. He's nowhere near him.
Thank you for having me on the live chat.
Yeah, look at this.
What?
Oh my god. Okay, Falco, you
18 seconds.
Falco,
Cheers, Falco.
You leaving? Give me 2 secs then.
Be good, Falco.
Alright,
I will see you.
Falco.
Yeah, cheers for joining, Falco. Cool. Right. Okay, I'm just gonna need to reposition some stuff. So if you guys just chat amongst yourselves. Okay, it's a really easy
cool.
one.
I was gonna say there was a question a second ago from somebody talking about how you pick people, like pairing them up against others, and like a good example of this is like Seth versus Karil over in like the Euros from like GNF and United. Like that was a terrible pair up, right? Because Seth Wang is a low down player and really good at like scrambling along the floor, something like Dane. And then Karil is a beautiful high up player, like some of you guys. He loves being up high on the rails, and that's horrible, right? Because you've got low down and high up, so they're never going to cross over with each other. So you want to have these two players who kind of match each other well. So someone who's good at herding people will be good against someone erratic, a little bit like low down and scrambly, I think, because they can see where they want to go. And yeah, someone high up, you also want somebody a bit high up and good at following that sort of route, I think. And that's kind of how you pick people. But it's a hard thing.
And to add to that, I was gonna say to add to that, it's hard to even decide that in the moment because you see the person run maybe once, and then you're like, okay, from that one run, you kind of have to decide that, or you've never seen the person run, so you have to kind of clarify what type of style they have just based on what you can tell or what you know from that person.
That's why I think it's so essential to have a team like captain or a manager who's there with you, because it takes that when you're in the chase, like you're so in the moment with how it's feeling that you don't like necessarily think about that bigger picture. But to have someone who's taken that step back and being like, right, I know you're a like ground chaser, and I know that the opponent's a bit more likely to go up high, so you can make that objective decision to be like, right, it's your turn to go in and take them out.
But you have to consider as well that your guy, like if you need to pair up someone who's going to go high, for example, your perfect guy might have just finished the chase, so he's tired. So this is sometimes a factor that you need to consider.
And that's I was gonna say that's another factor is who's expendable or not.
Also, I just want to point out West Press's like style here. He's just like he manages to get him, but it's like very last ditch effort, kind of like sliding all over the place. It's kind of like
so
Eric's
that's the erratic, frantic, I guess you could say reckless kind of style. I would say. Because that's every time he's going for the tag, you can see that he's nowhere close to getting the tag, but he's really diving for it. Like that was one right there. Then he does another one right around here.
Yeah, he did 2 dive attempts.
Diving for it, really, really going for it.
But if you look at some of the like Insta stories and stuff like that, if you look on Wes's one, he's got this picture of his bruise on his leg. Take his pants down, and you see this bruise on the back of his leg.
It's terrible.
And I think his we spoke to Michael, like Danko Franco, like recently, and he put it on his TikTok, some of these pictures. It's incredible. And I think he said it was from that particular dive.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's okay. It landed right.
But it didn't look that bad. It didn't really look. The dive didn't look as bad as the bruise. The bruise is horrendous. But
wow, really toyed with him there.
Yeah.
I've honestly never seen somebody go back from, that front spot to the cube like that.
19.8.
We love Seth Wang.
WCT Fans has a question for Richard Tompson. What do you think about Seth Wang?
Yeah, Seth Wang's great. Seth Wang. He's so great. Like, the whole of Apex, I swear, just was like, Seth Wang, show me your secret. And he was like, okay, guys, I'll show you the way. And then they all just copy and pasted. And we're like, yep, that's how we'll move for the rest of the competition.
Well, I just think it's because all of them train together.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
100%.
And just to remind Richard that where we are on YouTube is no one has seen Apex yet. So
Yeah.
no one knows any of the Apex results or like how well they did or
Don't say it,
didn't
don't
do.
make it.
Yeah, we won't spoil anything, but they are yeah, there's
Bunch of Seth Wang.
you'll see them coming up in Group D, and it's very interesting to see how they move.
On Tuesday is their first match, first Group D match.
So now this is you guys going up against each other, Hub and Empire. What were you guys thinking strategy-wise?
Surge is another one that I like watching. He's got this like kind of scrambly style that particularly I personally really like to see.
Yeah, what was your guys' strategy for this match? Like, did you have sort of things planned to go up against each other?
When we came in, since we lost that first match, we came in with a whole new mindset. You know, we came in with, you know, use our tactics, use the skills that we, you know, been practicing and learning, and, you know, focus on who's out there and who we need to send in. So we really on this one focused on that a lot.
That's pretty interesting.
We were still kind of winging it.
Yeah. I love the honesty.
I remember this match because I was behind EXO. EXO was sitting at the desk, and EXO we were going to be doing some other additional shots with EXO that we weren't able to do because of like production. Hopefully we'll do them like in the future. But EXO was I was just behind EXO during this match. And when you got the evasion, that's my voice. He was going mental, yeah. And he was really. I don't know if y'all were aware of what he was doing or how he was shouting, but I tell you, he was really animated behind me there.
Chase 4, Team Empire evading 1-0.
This was a fun one to watch. I really enjoyed watching this.
Also, I remember Davis was saying that Dominic, whenever he's up on the starter plate, he always has this little Street Fighter stance where he sort of bounces back and forth. I don't know if you've noticed.
I was just so nervous.
Yes.
That was a cool move. A lot of people think you did that intentionally to kind of flush them out.
Yeah.
But it
honestly,
worked. It worked really well.
My foot slipped when I went to stride off the mountain, and it just kind of like put me right there, and then just kind of baited him.
Yeah, it was a good move though. Like, just to flush them out and get them out of the way, you know.
Yeah.
One of the like the real characters of World Chase Tag is actually not an athlete, but it's Dan Dawson, the commentator. And I'm not sure when he says it, but at one point he talks about Gordo, right? And he goes, because you all got really imaginative nicknames, yeah. And he says something like Gordo is probably the least imaginative nickname.
Not the most imaginative.
It's just so we his name is obviously Jonathan, but we've always called him Gordon by his last name. And when we were coming up with all the nicknames, we all call him Gordo. That was just, you know, one thing that we've always called him. So we stuck with it, and you know, and then I guess that kind of turned out fun for him.
And another question going with the nicknames. How come everybody in your team has a nickname? Is it just something that you guys brought up on the day, or have you always had those nicknames for like life?
Nah, we're about the nickname thing. So we all have nicknames. You know, Falco's Falco, Kareem is Reaper, Jose is Vertical. That's what he's known as. Steven is actually one that we didn't actually have a nickname for, so we actually came up with it for Steven. Became Surge because he's so thirsty and eccentric and energetic as always. So we came up with Surge for him. And I was just always known as Tarzan because I like, you know, moving in the woods and jumping and being in nature, and you know, I have like very animalistic kind of movement. So.
2-0 Team Empire.
Yeah, that's cool.
we have a thing that we want to sort of like hashtag. We call it commitment to the tag. Yeah. And hopefully in the future we want to have it as a sponsorable asset. That's it. That's a nasty one.
Yeah.
Like he dived just to avoid him.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, commitment to the tag. We want to have it like a sponsor could come in and say like commitment to the tag, and then have a bonus for the best person commitment to the tag. And with that in mind, I've got in my notes in this chase 8 is a good example of commitment to the tag.
Really? I can't remember this one. Oh yeah. Straight through. Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
And I just want to say, kind stranger, thanks for joining and being a kind stranger, enjoying the live.
Kind stranger.
It's hard to get through that without banging the back of your leg.
Yeah, I know.
And that, I didn't even know that I did that. When I actually did that dive tag, I thought I didn't touch the bars at all. I thought I went straight through and I didn't touch them, so I didn't even feel that actually happened.
I think there is another commitment to the tag in this chase as well. I've got in my notes.
Oh yeah, this is crazy. This one is crazy. I remember this one.
I love your positioning at the ridge. You're just waiting
look at
for
this.
him.
Look.
Yeah.
That's total 100% commitment to the tag.
That was a commitment tag. And he dove right over that so hard. I was very surprised.
I honestly don't think he meant to. I think.
I think he was
just thinking about the
trying to
tag. He
stop
wasn't thinking
himself.
about landing or anything. You know?
Yeah.
No.
His head, like, on the floor. Like, his head just...
Yeah, after that we were like, you good, dude? He was like, I think so. We were like, alright.
Oh, here we go. Main man Falco's up.
Yeah. Falco just had the chillest style. No one was more relaxed than Falco, and then he could just turn it on.
Well, Richard was just saying that he reminds him of Dane, and the fact that Dane's always super relaxed when he comes up.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Like, he just
Watch this chase. Because this next chase, there's a thing about holding on to the bar. How long do you hold on to the bar for to use the bar? And this is an interesting chase because if you hold on to the bar too long to accelerate out,
He wasn't even accelerating out.
Yeah.
He just forgot he had the hand there. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That sucks.
He just left his hand.
But hand tags are definitely a thing. Like, you've really got to, I think, as it gets to a higher level, you really got to watch out for leaving your hand on obstacles.
We've talked about it from before, but sometimes watching through the stuff in slow motion, going through old chases, when people go around the corner and they hold on to a pole and swing around the corner, a lot of the time the evader will hold on and swing round, and the chaser will hold on to the same pole, but just grab the pole at the same time, but have their hand 2 inches higher. You just sort of think, well, just tag them. And it's weird how people just don't think about the hand. They think about, the body. You have to get the body or the legs or something like that. They just don't try and aim for the hand. A lot of people do, and it makes a big difference.
Yeah, 100%.
Greg, you got done by Seth Rugi like at WCT4.
I've got done so many times by holding on to bars. It's unreal. Like, but that's why I say it's so disappointing, because like you're hyped and ready for this massive chase, and then all of a sudden you feel a touch on your hand, and it's just like your world is destroyed because of how stupid you were.
No.
I mean, you could arguably say that single chase where Greg got touched on his hand kind of lost the match in a way. I would say, because other than Alex obviously hurting himself, it did kind of. So hand tags are very, very important, I think.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Greg. He's staring at me now.
Coming back to the DTR situation, this was a good move by Reap because I think he got the tag earlier on, or he feels he got the tag, but he didn't want to rely on the DTR, so he carried on chasing and ended up getting the tag later on. So that's how you should react if you think you've got a tag. If the referees haven't seen it, make sure try and get a second tag. So that was a good example for any, of how you should react.
That was actually a decision that we kind of made at that point too. Was no more like DTR. Try not to do the DTR unless you really know that you tagged the person. That was something we had talked about before that match too. So
okay.